Hello, hi, Assalamualaikum, and salam sejahtera. Okay, as for today, we will learn on chapter 4, which is on risk and return relationship. Before I continue with chapter 4, I would like to refresh on what you have learned in our previous chapter, which you have learned on the functions of financial manager, right? And you have four functions of financial manager. Okay, so now before I proceed with chapter 4, I want to ask you regarding a video that I have uploaded. What is your comment towards that video? What do you understand when you watch the video? As for me, the video is fun and super, and it shows how each individual respond to the risk. Okay, so if we look around us, we can see that different financial products such as bond, fixed deposit, and shares give different return. Why does the difference in the return occur? To understand this, you need to understand the concept of risk. Normally, the presence of risk means that the expected return is differ from the actual return. If you look at here, risk can be defined as the chance that the real outcomes are not in line with the expectations. On the other hand, the return can be defined as the benefits that an investor will receive from an investment over some period of time. Okay, so if you look at this slide explains on risk and return trade-off. In investment, there is a relationship between risk and return, which is known as risk and return trade-off. And the basic concept of this is the higher the risk, the higher the return, and vice versa. For example, a government treasury bond is considered to be one of the safest investment when compared to a corporate bond. Thus, a government bond normally will provide a lower rate of return compared to the corporate bond. All right, so this is the risk and return trade-off figure that shows the relationship between risk and return, where the horizontal axis or x represent the risk, and if the risk increase from left to right, while the vertical axis y represents the return, and it increase from bottom to the top. And then if you look at this line, which is from 0 to y1, it is called as the expected return of risk-free investment and is commonly associated with government treasury securities such as T-bills. Okay, and then the diagonal line from Y1 to ER, expected return, illustrates the concept of risk and return trade-off, which has a positive relationship where the higher the risk, the higher the return will be. Okay, now We will go to the next slide, and if you look at this slide, you can see that there are two types of risks, which the first one is systematic risk, and the second one is unsystematic risk. The first one, which is systematic risk, is the risk that you cannot eliminate from the firm no matter how many securities that the company hold. The risk usually comes from outside of the company or organization, and the example of systematic risks might be economic risks, in which we have faced and currently facing is the pandemic COVID, which has impacted many businesses out there. We also have another type of risk, such as interest rate risk, political attitude, inflation, and recession. I am now going to explain on the second type of risk, which is unsystematic risk. Unsystematic risk is a risk that occur in a company or from inside of the company. Thus, since the risk is coming from inside of the company, the financial manager should be responsible to eliminate or control the risk to make it smoother for the company to operate. Why is it that the financial manager is able to eliminate the risk? It is because the risk is beyond the control of financial manager, since it is inside of the organization. Example of unsystematic risks are new competition from other company and also lawsuits. Okay, class, I hope by now you can understand on the two types of risks here. And we are now going to learn on correlations of risks in this slide. Okay, so there are three possible correlations in risk, which there are positive correlation, negative correlation, and the third is zero correlation. A positive correlation indicates that the securities have a direct relationship with other securities, in which an increase in risk of a security will increase the risk in another security. On the other hand, a negative correlation is the securities that has an inverse relationship with another securities, which an increase in one security will decrease the risk in another security. Lastly, the zero correlation of risk indicate that the securities involved has no relationship with another securities. Okay, class? All right. So if you are okay, that's all for this module. Okay, where it consists of 4 chapters, and as a conclusion, you have learned throughout this module on the types of financial markets and business organization in chapter 1, and then in chapter 2 you have learned on the goals of firm, and then in chapter 3, you have learned on the functions of financial manager. And lastly, in chapter 3, you have learned on the risk and return relationship. If you have any questions, you may leave comments down here. And please make sure you do the exercises and the activities that have been included to test the level of your understandings. Okay, class, see you again. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera, and take care, everyone. Bye bye.